And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Rice Dice, which you gotta admit is a pretty cool name, Rice Dice. This is the Spirits of the Rice Paddy dice game. Now I've already reviewed Spirits of the Rice Paddy, a game I really enjoyed where you're planting rice in fields and you're controlling the flow of the water logistically through those fields to plant rice and then get the water out to harvest the rice. Well, it's an interesting idea. They're going to simplify it a lot here in this small dice game. Here's how it plays. Each player has a starting paddy here. There's also a bunch of water here. This is available water over here that you're going to have. There's water tokens. A certain number of tokens are going to be put into play. And this area here is the reservoir where you can get water from, and then these are more water that can be added. You'll add together all the number of water on the cards that are out there, and that's how much water starts in the reservoir. So you can see this would be a 4-player game starting water. On a player's turn, they're going to roll the dice that they have here. There's 5 dice, and you can re-roll any number of dice once. However, every time you roll weeds, you have to add those weeds to your paddies, although each paddy cannot have more than 2 weeds on it. So in this case, might as well re-roll whatever I want. The sides of the dice are cards, water, weeds, which you've already seen, workers, a double worker, and a wild side, which can be a card, water, or single worker. It can't be a weed or double worker. So once you're done deciding what to do, you take your action. You pick one action. So if you decide to draw cards, you'll draw 1 card for each card symbol. So here I would have 3 card symbols. Draw these 3 cards and pick one to keep, and you can put it at either end of your row. Once you pick it, you'll take the amount of water it shows on it and add that to the reservoir if there's cards like that. If you ever replace one, you can only have 4 in front of you. You might have to adjust what water is available in the reservoir. Another thing you can do is you can do water flows. So when you roll water, everyone gets to activate. So here I have rolled 3 water. So anyone who has water that's in their paddies can drain it from left to right, or you can drain it all the way out and back into the reservoir. But you can only drain it to a spot where you can completely fill it up. Then after everyone has done that, the person who rolled the dice will take the water. So here I put 3 water into this one because I need 1 water for each hex, and this one has 3 hexes, so I need 3 water. Then you have workers, and you can use workers for various things. Each worker can get rid of a weed, so I might use 2 of these workers to get rid of a weed. And then I got some question marks here, so I might use 3 workers to plant here. When you plant, you'll just put these rice tokens in each of the hexes here to show you have to completely fill the whole thing, and you can only do it when it's full of water. Once you drain the water out, you can use workers to harvest it. When you harvest a card, you will take points on that card equal to this number here. But if you have 1 weed, it will be that number. 2 weeds, it's that number. So I could harvest this one for 2 points if I have 2 weeds, or 10 points if I have no weeds. And as you can see, there's going to be all sorts of special abilities on these. Like this one here has a magic water. It's always there, and so you have 1 water for free. You only need to fill 2 of these with water. Here, all your workers count as wilds. If you have the most paddy hexes at the end of your turn, you score 5 points. Here you get a free water. Here all water counts as wilds. And you'll notice that each of these also is worth different points. Like this one here is worth 25 points. Of course, it's 5 hexes. And some of them are worth a lot fewer points, but like this one here is only worth 3 points. But my paddies require 1 fewer water to be filled. Well, that's pretty cool. This one is also only 3 points, but anytime an opponent harvests, you may harvest all your dry paddies. So that's kind of interesting. So you have a bunch of special abilities and things like that. The first person to get to 100 points here on the score track is the winner. I know that they wanted this box because it looks nice on the shelf and all, but I don't know. I'm just not it's okay, right? I mean, it feels reaching down inside here. It looks pretty. It looks like a tissue box, actually. The board is okay. It's a winding scoreboard here, and you have 2 of each of these tokens, 1 to put on the scoreboard and 1 to put in front of you. The cards here are fine cards, you know, although I think they could have put more variety on the cards. Like even the artwork is neat, but this Good Fortune and Twisted Fate artwork are exactly the same. With this few cards, A little bit extra artwork, I think, would have gone a long way to help differentiate the cards from each other. The little weed tokens are neat, and so are the rice tokens. They're fine. The water tokens are okay. It's okay. Here's my biggest problem is the rule book. We had a decent amount of questions, and this rule book was kind of like, let's get everything out of the way. And it was just formatted very weirdly. Like you come to the end here, and then it has the credits. But wait, there's more rules. And then I went through the rules like, how do you win? Where does it tell you how to win? It's actually in the objective at the front, which most games have, but it's not mentioned anywhere else in the rule book. So when you get to the end, you're like, well, what? There's also solo play included. It comes with a card that explains how the solo player works. And that's the components. They're okay. Now, normally I like dice games, and it's interesting that I like a Spirit of the Rice Paddy main game. Wasn't a huge fan of this one, and I usually tend to like Philip DeBerry's games, but this one was meh for me. There's a couple reasons for that, but the biggest one is the game itself just wasn't very interesting. You roll the dice, but most of the symbols are the same. I mean, really, you have a worker, 2 workers, and a wild. You have a card and water. And so you just kind of roll it. You're like, I want water this turn. I want workers this turn. Oops, I didn't get it. I don't know. There just wasn't any real tension or interesting thing about rolling the dice. There wasn't enough size or enough differences between them. The patties are interesting. And in fact, I would wager in most games you'll say, your patty's overpowered. Like one patty gives you 2 points every time you get a weed. So that person tries to get weeds. They always re-roll to get more weeds. And they just almost forget about the rest of the game because getting weeds and getting rid of those weeds is almost easier than planting and draining the water. But there's a lot of powerful cards like that in the game, and the game is short enough that that's not that big of a deal. The water part, okay, in Spirits of the Dice Paddy was really interesting because especially in Spirits of the Rice Paddy, it was very, territorial. I'm making these things and watching it flow. Here it's just left to right. So there's a little bit of that, but it becomes a game of chicken. It's like, I don't want to release the water and waste an action on my turn. You spend the water and I'll release the water. Why should I use my whole turn just to release water? And you're waiting for someone else to do it, and other people are waiting for someone else to do it. And I didn't find that to be interesting either because we'd just go around table and someone would say, all right, I guess I'll be the one to do it. And that just didn't seem very fun. I think there's not enough variety in the game. Other than the cards. The cards have the variety, right? But the rest of it is just very samey. Put water in, plant, empty the water, harvest. That's it. There's not a lot more beyond that. Draw some cards, try to pick a good combo of cards, and hope you draw a card that works with your other ones. It just feels like a pale shadow of the original game. And again, I don't mind dice games. I like lots of the little short dice games, but this one just felt like there wasn't enough there. And it also, at the same time, didn't feel light and silly fun. It felt like it was trying to be a more complex Euro game, but failing at it because it was trying to condense these things into concepts. Like this felt like a game that's too streamlined. That's what it feels like. And then it kind of revolves on the rolling of dice, which adds a good chunk of luck to the game. But yet the luck wasn't that interesting. I don't know. At the end of the day, this one's more of a gut feeling than anything else, and it just really didn't interest me that much. Some people might like it more, but that's what I think of Rice Dice. Dice Tower Judgment, it just felt boring.